1, 2, 3. Harold and Brad. Windy City Filmmakers. Harold and Brad. Windy City Filmmakers. Harold and Brad. Da, 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 da. Three, two, one. What's going on, y'all? Brad Stevens here for another edition of the Harold and Brad Windy City Filmmakers podcast. HD, what's going on, brother?
What's up, B?
Yeah. We have a very special guest today. The super talented Chris Adams is in the house. How you doing? What's going on?
Oh, man, I'm blessed. Thanks for having me on here.
I know. Thanks for doing the show. So the first question we always ask people is a two-parter, and it's, what's your connection to Chicago, and what kind of art do you create?
My connection to Chicago, I'm born and raised in Chicago, Southside, Roseland, 104th. And, you know, man, can't get no more Chicago than that.
Right.
But you know, I never was restricted, though, to my community. I was a skateboarder and freestyle BMXer. And so that took me to all sides of the city, all the way up to Evanston and everything in between.
Nice.
So I got to see the world outside of my community.
Right.
And I have friends from outside of my community, which a lot of people in my community really didn't have. And the second part of the question was...
what kind of art do you create?
Okay, so I feel I create art that breaks down boundaries of what African-American filmmakers and films can be. You know,
right.
I want to push those envelopes. I want to put us in these roles that you don't necessarily see us in. It's like, you know, we go and see the Marvel movies, the Star Wars. We're big fans of that, but a lot of times our characters are very secondary or comedic relief, or, you know, we taking the bullet for the hero. And I'm like, nah, we got to change that. We are the hero, you know, the hero of the story. We can be these strong characters. We can be these complex characters.
Right.
You know, there's so much more to the Black experience that we don't get to see.
Nice.
On screen. They always want to keep it like either super urban or, you know, just really restrict us. And to me, what that does is, and to anyone that's watching, especially like younger, more impressionable kids and stuff, it only teaches them, well, this is the limits of what I can do and what I can be. So, you know, we do sci-fi, we do horror, we do fantasy, Afrofuturism.
Yeah.
And really try to push those boundaries and show us in these very powerful roles. Think about it. In high school, we didn't get enough African mythology, but they constantly shoved the Greek mythology down. We knew all about Hercules and all this other stuff. Instead of what they stole it from, you know, as far as stories out of Kemet and, you know, things like Peru and Offset and stuff like that. You know, I didn't learn that stuff till, you know, I was almost in my 30s.
No doubt.
You know, so myth building is a big part of what you can instill in people to be better people, to be the strongest version of themselves, to give them these stories of people that overcome incredible adversity.
Now, from the makers of Sinbad, Columbia Pictures presents Jason and the Argonauts.
You know, they got to conquer Medusa, they got to fight the Sphinx and all this other stuff. You know, I'm a big fan of the old Ray Harryhausen movies and the Jason and the Argonauts.
Oh man, those are classics.
Kind of things.
Yeah.
But I'm like, where the brothers at?
Right.
Do that, you know. So yeah, so that's part of what I want to do. But not only that, not just for myself, but for other filmmakers.
Right.
I want to be a resource. You know, a lot of us, especially a lot of Black creatives, if we're not following that same mantra of hood movies, drug dealing, gangbang, and all of that, you know, we're kind of seen as anomalies. You know, and so we tend to think we exist in the vacuum. So what I like to do is find these brothers and sisters that are doing these fantastic stories and be like, look, you don't need necessarily $1 million to do these stories. Let me show you what we can do leveraging the current, digital technology.
Right.
So, we're in the process of building what I like to call our playground, which will be basically the equivalent of our own CineSpace.
Nice.
Okay? We're in the process of building it, and it's not just going to be sound stages.
Yeah.
We're building, I don't know if you've seen The Mandalorian, and if you're familiar with the technology Industrial Light and Magic has pioneered with The Mandalorian, it's called Stagecraft.
Okay.
And what Stagecraft is they create a huge, what they call the volume. It's a 75-foot diameter, 25-foot tall LED enclosure.
Okay.
And so what you do is, instead of green screen, you use Unreal Game Engine to create photoreal environments that are three-dimensional, and you project those, you put those on the screen, and then the camera, you put a tracker on your camera, and the perspective shifts like as if you're there. So this is a very cost-saving thing, and this was going on, they were building this before the pandemic. So now, with the pandemic and virtual productions, all these productions had to stop. They couldn't go to these locations. If you build the volume Stagecraft solution, you can be anywhere. The limit is your imagination. So we're in the process of building that. I partnered with Ace Universal Group, which is a brother by the name of Wayne Ware, and we're in the process of building that. He was able to acquire an a shut down metal refinery, 89,000 square feet.
Nice.
And it's huge. And one of the buildings is a 10,500 square foot building, 40-foot ceilings. And so we're building an LED volume in there.
Dope.
And, we've been playing around, and I'm really excited. And I want to be able to bring in, other filmmakers. We got a nice family of filmmakers, and it's not just limited to those, but as we meet people and things who have similar visions, like, look, we got the toys. We can level the playing field. Bring your A game.
Yeah. So Chris, I've seen the joint is beautiful, and I can't wait till we get in there and start doing some major stuff. So you would say not only are you a filmmaker and a hands craftsman, whereas you get in there and build things that you need to build for filmmaking. How would you describe yourself? A Renaissance man, or?
I guess I would be, or more in the tradition of the original filmmakers. Like now, to me, I see filmmaking is really segmented. You got a DP. The DP don't know nothing about sound, or the director don't know nothing about camera. And I didn't go to school for anything. So I'm self-taught. So when I saw like George Lucas' name, I thought he learned everything. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I learned animation. I taught myself cinematography. I've got awards for animation, got awards for cinematography. I've got 3 Grammy-nominated music videos. But I didn't see a limit. To me, it's just all art. I'm traditional. I come from an illustration, painting, and sculpting background. So I get to utilize all of these talents. Like in the film you were in, Reset. I built the robot, your counterpart that you had to fight against.
That's right.
As a physical prop, a 5.5, 6 foot tall robot. And your weapons, your gun, your armor. We made all of that stuff. The original filmmakers, like what's the guy that did Man on the Moon, that the film Hugo is about. He was hands-on in all aspects of filmmaking. So I feel like I'm free in that I don't have those limitations. I run into a lot of filmmakers and people in film that only know one thing, and I don't get that. And I don't believe the myth of the myth of master of all trades, jack of all trades, master. No.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm a black man. I can master every day.
No doubt.
No doubt. So you did the Kick Push Lupe Fiasco video too. You want to talk about that briefly?
Yes, that was actually
and then we did 1 week back in '99, and I saw your name in the credits. Years later, looking at it, I was like, Impact Studios was in dealing with Kenny and Carl back in the day.
Yeah. So once again, always helping out. So I'm gonna start with Kenny and Carl first. So I met those brothers. I think it was the first Black Harvest. They had a short
Tissue.
Tissue. I was like, whoa, no, not Tissue. It was before Tissue. We worked on Tissue together, but it was a short, and it was really powerful. And me and Jonathan Woods, we met with them, and because there was some things in their storytelling that we recognized, and they were like, "Whoa, no one ever recognized," and what we were doing there. And so we became real good friends and things like that. And then they were doing the movie 1 week. And I was trying to convince them at the time to go digital. This is way back when nobody was really doing digital. I had abandoned film. A long time ago. I'm like, no, that's dead. But they weren't quite ready to make that leap yet. So I was doing a lot of music videos at the time for a Warner Brothers subsidiary out of Atlanta. And so I was a little bit balling, and so they were running short on some money. And I was like, man, what you need? So they, man, we need this to finish the film. So, I was like, hey, here it is, bam. Got to support them because I knew their vision and their commitment level. I mean, Kenny and Carl are just some fantastic brothers.
No doubt.
Yeah. So you're about to talk about Kick Push? Yeah.
So Kick Push. I met Lupe Fiasco through his business partner at First and 15th, which is their record label, Chili Chill. And he was like, man, you need to meet my artist. He came by and he saw, like, we had a studio. I'm trying to think what studio. We were on 36 and Iron. We had a studio and in this big industrial building. And he walked in, he saw all the anime DVDs, and I had, I've always had robots and little monster figurines. He's like, nice. Yeah, you need to meet Lupe. So I remember going out, they had a home studio on Olympia Field, and they were playing the album Food and Liquor, and it was unlike anything I'd ever heard. I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm talking about. This is some next level stuff.
Right.
So before we did Kick Push, he wanted to kind of try us out. So they were doing a thing with Fader magazine as part of their rollout, getting the word out on Lupe. And so we did a short video for a song off a mixtape called Failure. And we shot it on the West Side. It was freezing cold, but I wanted Lupe to wear the same outfit he had worn in his promotional material. And it just happened to be summer kind of stuff. So we shot, it was really cold. We put it together, and they were like, oh, okay, cool. So then I was driving in the car, and DCI played Kick Push, and I hadn't heard it yet. Right. I was like, whoa. And they said, I was like, that's Lou? I was like, oh, that's Lupe. So as soon as they finished playing, I called Chi. I was like, I got to do that video. He's like, man, I was going to call you about it. It was really interesting because Atlantic Records did not want that song. So you got to think about where rap was at the time.
Yeah.
And here's this kid talking about skateboarding.
Right.
There's no guns, no drugs, no half-naked women, no misogyny. They didn't know what to do. They're like, yeah. And there's a funny story that goes along with it. So I did a video for Public Enemy called "Do You Want to Go Our Way?" That was '99, and then me and Lupe were at this studio called Hinge Studio, and Flavor Flav was there recording an R&B album.
Nice.
Which was actually pretty dope. A lot of people didn't know he's classically trained pianist or whatever. So we were sharing stories about Flavor Flav. So he was saying when he was right before he was about to sign with Atlantic, they got a little stage in the Atlantic building in New York where new artists, they kind of review. So he goes there and he's doing Kick Push, and they kind of looking at him like unenthused. Flavor Flav happened to be in the building that day, and here this kid talking about skateboard, right? So Flav runs into the thing while Lou was on the thing and jumps on the stage, And he's like, yeah, this is dope. And so this was around the time Flavor of Love was so Flavor was hot.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Atlantic execs were like, well, shit, if Flavor likes it, it must be dope. It was crazy. So my Flavor Flav story that I shared that day was, we were shooting this video green screen for Public Enemy. And what's the one requirement when shooting green screen?
Like,
don't wear green. Don't wear green.
Right.
Flavor Flav comes out in this tracksuit that totally matches our green. We're like, you gotta change. He did not want to change, right?
That's crazy.
So him and Chuck was getting heated. Like, man, go change. You know you ain't supposed to wear green. I ain't changing. And Professor Griff was just sitting there steaming like, MF go, and they were having some friction at the time.
Right.
And so he didn't change. We shot him. And so I told Flav while we were at the studio, I was like, you cost us a whole nother like 2-3 weeks because we had to go frame by frame and cut you out because you didn't change. You wouldn't take your frame. He's like, my fault, G. I was on crack team.
Oh, goodness.
Ooh la la. Yeah.